Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, hailing from Kaukauna, Wisconsin, riding a CST Tires SSI decals traveling back Yamaha YFC 450R, four-time ATV motocross national champion, number 25, Cody Jensen.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a live show edition of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, live on location at beautiful Sunset Ridge MX here in Walnut, Illinois. Such an exciting day for Digging Deep. It's been a lot of years since we've done a live show. And before I get into anything else, obviously want to thank my brother, the brains of the operation, Dallas, the producer from day one. Everything we do at Digging Deep is thanks to him. So Dallas, thanks so much for being here and making this happen. Also, shout out to all of our incredible partners. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com today. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Thanks to SSI Decals, Valvoline, DID Racing Chain, Launderville Steel, Enterprises and Concrete Supply, DP Brakes, Impact Solutions, and Ultimate Poly Products. UPP Racing. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP15 at uppracing.com. Now, I've been motivated for years to do a live show here at Sunset Ridge. It's my favorite place, my favorite track on the tour, the whole thing. But I was not going to do this if we didn't have Digger Doug Gust. So, Digger, like I said to you earlier, this isn't necessarily your style. I know you never want any attention or anything like that. That being said, this whole thing was centered around you. And to have you at the races is such a special thing. So I can't thank you enough for being here. And my biggest fear, Digger, was that we were going to go through all this and then you weren't going to be able to make it. So I'm so glad that you were able to hang out with us all day here.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here, and it's cool to see the talent out there right now. All the classes is it's unbelievable how this sport has progressed, and the talent. It was cool to come here and watch it.
So, Digger, that's the great place to start, because I always wonder what it feels like to you. You know, you've been removed close to 20 years from the races. So what does it feel like to get back to the track like this and you see the progression and riders and talent and equipment, tracks, all the things? What does that feel like?
Oh, it's overwhelming, but I watch it and I think to myself, man, I think I could still be up there in the top 5. But then I said, wait a minute, my body won't handle it. My mind says yeah, body says no. But no, I miss it. But you have to accept the fact that I've had too many birthdays already. So.
Well, it's I knew that was probably going to be the answer from you. So the biggest thing, it's just so cool to have you in the paddock. I mean, you for so long you were one of the biggest rock stars of this whole thing, and I know now, like, you're in such a different place in life. We just sat here and talked about flying planes and spraying crops for the last 20 minutes, and you're in such a different place in life. And I sometimes wonder what it's like to think back in your heyday. That's got to almost feel like a lifetime ago, just because you're in such a different place in life.
Yeah, this, when I'm here, it brought back so many memories, and watching the race and watching the pros, going, man, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in this position, and oh man, this track's kicking my ass today, and it's crazy how the memories just all come back to you.
So how many times would you have raced at Sunset Ridge? Just a couple, because we raced here in 2006 and then maybe a couple times after that.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 times I raced here, and didn't seem like the track did me any favors, but it's still a fun track and close to home, so I loved coming here.
Yeah, it isn't far from home. We just earlier were reminiscing about you and Jeremiah having a really crazy battle, and I specifically remember you guys going inside, outside, outside, inside in some of these sections over here, and then I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was that moto or the moto after, you ended up falling off back here on one of those double sections. You remember that?
Yeah, and I don't know if that was the same race that I had a mechanical issue and I went over the bars, but so like I said, it didn't treat me that well, but I still had fun riding here.
So Digger, I want to cover as much as we can in the short amount of time that we got with you here. Like we talked about, we actually moved the show up a half hour. I know there's some other stuff going on at the racetrack right now, but we got to get you out of here, up in the air, and home before dark.
And the storms, if storms come.
And the storms, exactly. But do you have any let's start with this. Talk about who you looked up to when you were a kid, because we were going to have Chad Weenan on after you, and he's expecting his third child any minute here, so he had to get out of here. And I was prepared to, kind of as we transition to him, he credits you as being, the guy that he looked up to. So go back even before that. Who did you look up to, in the early days of what would be 3-wheel and 4-wheel racing?
Wow, there's a lot of them. So obviously, I'm old, I guess. Bob Hanna was my motocross guy back in the day. Rick Johnson, Jeff Stanton, all them guys. And then when I started racing 3-wheelers, we had Marty Hart, Jimmy White. The factories are all involved then. So them were guys I looked up to. And then obviously when we went into 4-wheelers, Gary Denton. He was the guy. And I remember one race specifically. I was at Loretta Lynn's and decided I'm racing pro. And I remember my dad says, "No, you can't race pro. You're not good enough yet." And I said, "Well, I want to try it." And it really rained a lot. It was just a mud hole there. So Davey Coombs put the track up on the side hill. And I had stock tires, basically a stock Honda 250R, And I remember I did pretty decent in the start, and I was rolling, and I passed Gary Denton, and I just couldn't believe it. Like, he was my idol, and I just passed him, And I was leading for a while till conditioning took over, and I dropped back to 4th. But my first pro race, I think I finished 4th overall, so I was happy.
I remember talking about that story. I remember reliving that story once with you, talking about riding on the side hill and, passing Gary and, getting a good hole shot and all those things. And it's probably fitting. I know it's not his first race today. He's been a pro for a number of years. But Brandon Hoag, kind of a historic day here at Sunset Ridge. Joel has now won 81 overalls as a professional. It's insane.
Wow.
But today we saw him knocked off in a moto by Brandon Hoag, and Brandon Hoag looked up to Joel for Joel's whole existence as a pro, Brandon's whole existence in ATV racing. He's been looking up to Joel. So kind of fitting for you to be telling that story today. Because Brandon had a day where he broke through today and, got over the hump and won his first, moto as a pro. So do you remember that for you? You talked about now, passing Gary and, being up front in your very first race as a pro. Do you remember your first win as a pro?
Yes, I think it was 92 at Red Bud.
Okay.
I
what
won.
do you remember about it?
It was a mud race again, and my buddy Ernie cut milk jugs in half and used them as hand guards to keep the mud off. And I ended up winning. That was my first pro win. I think beat Gary Denton and all the guys, that weekend. So
Digger, how about you look at all the guys you raced? We've talked about this. You basically raced everybody up until maybe the beginning of Joel. Joel's maybe the one champion. He's probably the one champion that you never raced. Every other guy you competed against. Every other champion in the history of the sport you competed against.
Wow, you're really making me feel old.
But you're such a pioneer, right? You're connected to every single champion, every single year of the sport. That's kind of where I'm going with this. So you think about, and I know we know the guys that you've raced with for forever and anything like that. We've talked about some of these things before. But when you think back to all the battles, how about your favorite or the fiercest person to race against? Who comes to mind?
Wow. I would say, obviously, in the beginning, it was Gary Denton, and then, then we got Tim Farr and John Natale, and then, obviously, as it just kept going through, Shane Hitt, Chad Ween, Jeremiah Jones,
Birdman.
Yep, Joe Bird. Holy cow, but I practiced with Joe, so he didn't scare me. I just know how he was. So, but no, I would say one of the guys that probably comes to mind too is John Natale. He was tough, and he didn't back down for nobody. So
I figured those names you think about, the Natales, the Birds,
yep,
the Jeremiahs. So let's talk about the Suzuki era a little bit, because there's questions that I have, and we've talked about this so much, golden age of ATV racing, all those things. Let's start by talking about, do you have a favorite race that stands out to you? I know there's a million of them, and I know sometimes when we talk about specifics of races, maybe you don't think about them all the time, anything like that, but it's such a fun time to think about when you transition from the hybrid with the the TC, the Walsh hybrid, the iconic machine that you rode, and then you transition to the Z400, which was a fun era because it was kind of a production kind of mimic of that hybrid that you had. And you look at the first one that you rode when there was a production pro class, and a few years later, the last one you were riding in 2004, it didn't even look like the same machine anymore. Right. And then the LTR comes out. It's so much transition in that time. So do you have and it could be any one of those, but do you have a race that stands out? Because the other thing that is really interesting to me is like going into each one of those seasons, there's major changes happening in the classes, right? From the machines you're riding, and it's no longer a GNC series where you're racing TTs and all the other crap. Like there's a lot going on in the sport at the time. I just don't know if there's a favorite race, memory, anything like that stands out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. I can mention a few. Red Bud one year where I think it was 2004, where I won the first moto, went down in the second moto, and still came back and won. How, I don't know. But I guess one of the favorite ones is probably in New Jersey when we ran the WPSA series, and me and Dustin Wimmer were going at it, and it came down to the last moto, last race.
2006.
Yep, and he was winning, and I had to pass him, and I did at the end. And I think at the time, he was half my age. I was 39, and he was 18 or something. So, yeah, I got to say that's probably the most memorable race.
So then Dustin goes on to be your teammate. So was that a weird thing? Or?
Oh, yeah, it was, but I knew it. I start realizing I'm 40 years old now. He's 19, and then, I just had to accept the fact that he's going to be the up-and-coming guy, which he was.
So same era. We're talking about Suzuki and all those things. So then, we hear these stories. I've heard plenty of these stories from people close to you about, Suzuki, he's not supposed to be working when he's at home and all those things. So how much truth is there to that? How much work were you doing at home, doing excavating things and stuff like that at the time that you were riding for Suzuki? Because you weren't supposed to, right?
Right. I did for a little bit, but I did end up shutting the business down because they kept me so busy doing autograph sessions, dealer shows. They would, if I wasn't racing, they would have a dealer that they wanted me to come in and sign autographs, and so they kept me pretty busy. But the first few years, people didn't know I was getting help in 2002 and 3, so I was still excavating. But then I finally, in 2004, I think it was just too much.
Yeah,
so.
Got it. So, and again, such a fun thing to think about as a kid that got to be able to ride at your place, and you pull in, and there's the double over the driveway, and the 55 in the driveway there, and all the things. It set such an unrealistic goal for me, as a kid, being like, man, like this is what the pinnacle has. This is what you dream about, and it set such a a cool vision. It was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory to a kid, to me. Yep. And it's funny, I'll tell you this now, because when I was a kid, I was like, I'd really want to ride with Doug Gust, but I'm so afraid of the doubles at its track. So such a fun time to think about. So like I said, we were going to talk to Chad Wienen next, and I guess that's something I don't think I've ever really talked to you about. So as we were going to transition into him being here, but he's not going to be here tonight, the other thing I wanted to think about was, you talked about 2006 WPSA transitioning into 2007, where you're back on the team racing WPSA, you're the defending champion, all of those things, and now Dustin Wimmer's your teammate, and last second they bring on Chad Wienen. So talk about what that was like, because it also has to be pretty cool. I mean, we saw you hanging out with Chad today. We saw you riding together last fall. He rides for Suzuki, and all these years later, I mean, he just retired, and he goes on to be an 8-time champion, one of the greatest of all time in the conversation with you. That's got to be a pretty cool thing. And also, until last season, a guy very much connected to you was still in the sport, which is a pretty darn cool thing.
Yeah, that is. I mean, yeah, I had a lot through my racing career, a lot of ups and downs. One thing I got to say, Suzuki was great to me. Of course, it was my dream to be a factory rider, and when they approached me at first, I was just getting some help, but then all of a sudden they called me up and said, we want to fly you to Vegas for the dealer show, and they offered me this big contract, and I was like, holy cow, and then when the LTR 450, they had me come to Japan. They flew me to Japan a couple times, help them design it. I mean, I didn't do any engine work or nothing, but where the handlebars should be, foot pegs. I got to do a lot of things. I'm very grateful for it. I got to fly the vice president of Suzuki. They came to my place. They landed and stayed at a lodge not too far, and I picked them up in my airplane and flew them to my strip when we debuted the LTR 450. So, a lot of things I got to do that, I'm grateful for. That I had a great career.
And one of the other cool things that we talked about this, that we didn't get to it last year, but the Cabrando family, Shelby Cabrando, current WMX, podium finisher, very, very much in the mix in the fastest girls motocross class in the world, still runs the number 55 to this day because of you, which is a pretty darn cool thing.
Yeah, that's cool. Hopefully she comes around here today and I can say hi to her.
So we told this story, but we got to tell it, and I know we got just a couple minutes left here, but can we talk about the story of where the 55 came from? Because when I still didn't even believe this, when you told me that the Can't Drive 55 is where the number came from, that is just it's so funny to me.
That's the truth. That song by Sammy Hagar, Can't Drive 55, that's where it came from. And back when we were doing it early 90s stuff, you just went by your number, how you finished the year before, and then they finally let you be like NASCAR, where you can have the number you want, so that's where 55 come from.
And you got to brand yourself as the number 55. But yeah, I mean, that's what I think of you as. If it's the number 1 on the Nax bike, and the number, we saw the 3 on the TC, and all those things. Do you have any last things that we want to cover before you get out of here? I think about all the cool things that you did, all the eras, the 250Rs, all the stuff. Do you have any last stories that we want to relive before you get out of here? Do you ever think back? You ever sitting on the couch or laying in bed and just think about old races? Is that something you ever do?
Oh yeah, and especially when stuff pops up, and somebody will send it to me, because I'm not one to get on social media, but a friend will send me, oh, look what popped up, so.
That's why I needed to send you that clip a couple weeks ago. I'm like, okay, I'm going to send Digger this clip, and then I'm going to be like, hey, you want to come to this live show at Sunset Ridge? I was trying to butter you up, but I knew that would be one that stood out, because that clip was from 2005, and that was a transitional year. Kind of talking about the transitional year, you were on the Z400 yet. Natalie was now on the TRX and really kind of making some waves. He was a monster that year, and that moto at Muddy Creek, you put it to him, and you got back around him and put it down. And I thought that you were the defending champion. I knew that was going to bring up some good memories.
Yep. Oh yeah, it did. I watched that, and it just makes me think, damn, I had it good for a while. Back when I was in shape, and like my mom says, back when you were somebody.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. Again, you did so much good for the sport, Digger. It's one of those things. I see the posts and the photos and stuff from that era, your heyday in the sport, and there's really nothing like it. And it's hard to put into words the impact that you had, the stature that you had in the sport at the time. I mean, I think back to when I was a kid, when I was a younger person, and I looked at you like that was no different than it was Brett Favre or Michael Jordan, or when you came to these races. If I caught a glimpse of Doug Gust, it was that was something special. So again, so many fun memories to think about. I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us today and doing this and cramming it in here. We'll get the audio out to all the people that would listen to our show and all those things. But Digger, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us and making a little time for us here.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you having me here. And I'd just like to say, I've seen all this talent out here, and I just wish it would get publicized more for because people don't know, what these quads are doing, and it's just sad that the factories ain't in it, and I just wish it would come back, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too.
Of course, that's a great way to end our conversation, because that's something, and that's a lot of where Digging Deep comes from. Is I want to give, I want to help cover the sport. I want to give the people that deserve credit in coverage as much as we can possibly do ourselves. But that's a lot of where this comes from. And I feel for some of those guys in the pro class, because they're going so damn fast, and they don't have any average looking guys to actually showcase how fast they're going. So that's an astute point from you. But I know we got to get you out of here, Digger. Thanks so much for everything. Can we get a picture before but he gives out? But everybody who is here, put their hands together. One of the greatest of all time, Mr. Digger Doug Gust. We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. The official tire choice of Digging Deep, CST tires are the choice of ATV racing's elite on the track, in the woods, and every other terrain. CST tires swept the ATV racing world in 2022 as Joel Hetrick, Bryson Neal, and Bo Barron rode their Pulse MXR and Pulse HT tires to an ATV Pro Motocross title, GNCC XC1 Pro title, and 10th ATV Pro Works Racing title, respectively. Led by champion Joel Hetrick and podium contenders Bryce Ford, Jeffrey Rastrelli, and Nick Janusa, CST's Pulse MXR tire is the most trusted tire in ATV motocross today. Available in soft and standard compounds, the Pulse MXR offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. And did I mention they have a contingency program as well? Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. The best of the best choose CST. Do you? You know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, as the Yamaha YFZ 450R is the official ATV of Digging Deep. In a move started by 8-time ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, who with his next championship will become the winningest champion in ATV motocross history, we are living in ATV racing's YFZ 450R era. Alongside Wienen, 7-time GNCC XC1 Pro ATV National Champion Walker Fowler welcomed a pair of new champions to the Yamaha Champions Club, as the podium-proven Yamaha YFZ 450R proved to be the winning choice for Joel Hetrick and Bryson Neal. This unprecedented success for the YFZ 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the clear fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has resulted in a complete Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Evident by the continuation of Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program, Yamaha riders will once again cash in on payout and prize opportunities in 2023, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com. Follow Yamaha Outdoors, as well as the new Blue Crew official channel on social media, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. SSI Decals, your way. SSI Decals sets the standard with the best looking decals, graphics kits, and vinyl wraps in the industry. Established in 1947, SSI took shape as an offshoot of their parent company by doing a little work for local pro Chad Wienen. Nearly 2 decades later, and fueled by a passion for ATVs, the company has flourished into one of ATV Moto's most recognized brands. From ATV motocross, SSI has expanded into graphics and design work for top racers in GNCC, Works Racing, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Off-Road, and more, headlined by 8-time world champion Top Fuel drag racer Clay Milliken. Whether your project is big or small, SSI Decals will make your identity stick. Get started today at SSIDecals.com and use code DIGGINGDEEP10 for 10% off at checkout. Things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their wide range of championship-winning chains. From the street to the track and everywhere in between, DID chains are designed to give you the optimal riding experience with great performance and increased chain life. Consistent to the core, pick up your box of reliability today. DID.
What drives you?
All right, guys. So I thought, like I said, we were going to have Chad Weenan on after this. He needed to get out of here and go be with the family. He's got another baby on the way any minute here. But I had kind of messaged Brian last night and said, I think no better way to end the live show than to talk about the racing. We've been doing this every week. We've been reviewing the races, talking about the racing and all these things. Little did we know we were going to have a historic day here at Sunset Ridge, Brian.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to talk about there. Some things happened that, we didn't expect. A shocker, if I'm being honest. We had an underdog rise to the top today, and probably satisfy a lot of the fans out there to change things up like they always want. So yeah, it's historic.
You did call it. You called something happening. You said something was going to happen on the start. You didn't get that part right, or maybe you did. The whole shot was very important. But the part that you did get right is that there was a shakeup.
There was, and I said I just felt like there was going to be something weird that happened, and there it was. I mean, Brandon grabbed that. Didn't he get the whole shot?
He got the whole shot and let it wire to wire.
And then he was just from start to finish. So that might have just been the shakeup that ended up coming true. But at least it was something. I was onto something. Okay,
yeah, you were onto something.
I'll take that.
You were onto something. You felt something for sure. It was so surreal, maybe is the word. And you said it was a shocker, and there's no better way to put it than that, because as we're standing at the podium, and there was as big a group as we've had at the podium for a long time, especially after a first moto, to celebrate this first career win for Brandon, first career moto win for Brandon. And it was like quiet, everybody was waiting for what he was going to say or what he was going to do. And I had said to my family and to my wife, I'm like, everybody was in shock. Everybody was in shock. He shocked the ATV racing world that he was able to do that because, even leading laps, I thought to myself late in the moto, I thought if Brandon were to get past right now, this was still a major step for him, to lead a bunch of laps. We've seen him do it, but not that late in the moto. And I love this racetrack. Sunset Ridge is amazing, but the way that it grooved up at the time in that moto, it was the fast line. It was kind of one-lined-ish. So you started to see Joel do some other things and try some other lines and try to make some things work. And it almost frazzled him a little bit, I think.
I seen him start to become, I don't want to say desperate, but like you said, he started mixing up his lines, and down there, like I don't know where you were watching from, but the S turns down there, and then the dragon back coming up, there was some really goofy thing coming out of that turn that they were kind of like trying to bunny hop lift and get over, and I think that's where they were kind of caterpillaring from lap to lap, because there wasn't a lot of opportunities anyplace else. A lot of the lines that we did have where there might have been two lines that you could have tried and run something in, unfortunately they all came together in every area out there. Unless there was a berm all the way through, those lines all joined at the end of them. So it made, like, I always want to see a track that's very racy and has opportunity, and unfortunately all the spots here today, it looked like they were all the fast areas that you could have passed, and they're all going that same speed, so it wasn't going to happen. And those guys, as fast as they were going, one was not faster than the other. Like, you've seen Joel catch Brandon and put a lot of pressure on him. It reminded me of his Briarcliff ride when he was out front for a good many laps, and then he had that little hiccup and spun out and got tossed. So, I think we probably all thought, like, okay, he's led a lot of laps. Is there going to be a hiccup? Somebody even came up to me and said, with Brandon's luck, do you think there's going to be a breakdown? I was like, it's looking really good right now. So, he finished it out strong. I mean, you could see Joel, they were kind of giving each other a few bike lines here and there. So it was a great race.
It was phenomenal. And again, late in the moto, I thought to myself, I'm like, this is going to be a huge test for Brandon, because you knew Joel was going to do everything he could to keep this another undefeated streak alive. And again, and I said to Brandon, it's such a tough place to be in for him, because he's a guy that just won his first moto of his career today, and he's comparing himself to a guy that's now 181 overalls. It just doesn't even feel real, So he's got the unenviable task to be in, and so does the rest of the class. But what a masterclass he put on today, because again, like, you know who's behind you, you know all the races that, you know, he's won. You even said on the last show that we did, he's the guy that watched everybody else. You know, he watched Joel so many laps. He knows every lap that Joel did prior to now, probably, because he spent his whole, you know, younger life watching Joel and idolizing Joel. To have that be the guy that's pressuring you for your, you know, your first moto win of your professional career, that's a giant task. But it's really cool that it happened without anything weird happening. You know what I mean? Like, it was a straight up honest win. And I'm sure Joel's in a weird spot too, because, you know, Joel loves Brandon. They're connected. You know, their wives are, you know, they're
family wise and everything.
Basically, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's a weird spot for Joel to be in too. But I would think that if he could hand select anybody to upset him on a day, not that he would want that to happen, but you think Brandon would be the guy.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I thought those emotions up there on the podium have to be, you know, so strong and all over the place for both of them, because, you know, we just talked about Brandon having a statement ride, which I really feel that was, and gaining the confidence and maybe being comfortable with the bike to think, okay, now I just ride. I've got the bike underneath me I can just concentrate on riding. And then to come out and feel the pressure. Joel threw everything at him. I thought maybe Joel could have been frustrated possibly because there wasn't more passing opportunities. You know, we've talked about, you know, Sunset Ridge is a premier track. So the problem with being a premier track, we're going to compare you, at least I am, to yourself and what we've had in the past. And the first thing I said when I got here this weekend, you know, I'm just calling it for what it is the track was very narrow. I felt like in a lot of areas, a lot of the turns were brought way in to cut it down. And I think that definitely affected the opportunities that those guys had to dice it up a little bit more out there. Like you've seen a lot of people putting tires on each other or on Nerf bars because that was the only way to try and move or get a tire in on somebody. So, you know, like you said, though, that moto was amazing that they were straight up. You know, there was no hiccups. That Brandon should be super proud of that and feel like he accomplished something because he weathered the storm. Joel threw everything he could at him, and you know he maintained that short, you know, couple quad length lead that he had, and he looked very good doing it. I mean, those guys, to be honest with you, they looked very similar. The way they rode, their riding styles, and what they were doing, it was like one was imitating the other.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And again, that's what Brandon envisioned for a very long time, was being the guy that could, you know, kind of emulate what Joel is doing. So as you transition to the second moto, and even before I go there, I should also give credit to Max, because Max put on a really good ride in that first moto. There was actually a moment in time where Joel had caught early, Joel had caught Brandon, and Max was right there too. There was a 3-rider freight train 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
So then as the moto goes on, Brandon ups his pace a little bit. Joel comes with him, and you know, eventually ends up, you know, Brandon gets a couple second win there at the end, and Max is standalone all in third, kind of like we've been seeing. So credit to Max. As you transition to the second moto, though, I pretty much had no doubt what we were going to see from Joel Hetrick, if I'm being honest with you.
There was some motivation there, I felt like, and I thought, oh man, I'd love to be a fly on the wall inside that camper, because Joel is either super quiet and focused, or is he's like destroying everything, and everybody's like, just don't go in there, let it go. The trailer's rocking probably. So I don't know, but we all said the same thing, like, okay, Joel's probably going to get a little dicey. He's probably going to let it hang out, and he's going to want to get out front and go and challenge everybody. Like, okay, if you got something, come with me.
Well, and that's what I had said when we were doing the play-by-play. I'm like, when Joel got the whole shot, I'm like, you are going to see him go right now. And I'm pretty sure he had a 3-second lead after the first lap. So by the time Brandon got into second, it was really by the beginning of lap 3, there was already a 5 or a 6 second lead. And, you know, that was was pretty much not going to happen at that point. But Joel put on a killer ride in the second moto. Again, you had to expect that. You knew how fired up he must have been, and he put on a perfect ride in the second moto. Gets a 10-second win like we see him do so often. But that first moto is the one that is really going to stand out to all of us. In that second moto, though, there was a lot of killer battles going on throughout the entire class. There was all kinds of stuff going on, and it seemed like about half of those mid-pack guys ended up eating the dirt at one point or another. I know Noah did, Zach did. There was all kinds of stuff going on in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, there absolutely was. It was pretty wild to see that, like you had said, there was Brandon, Joel, and then a little bit back we had Max, and then a little bit further back from him we had Zach, and then behind Zach there was a little gap, and then there was no holds barred. It was like the whole group was battling for position, and stuff was, it was chaos. I think Adam, did he break an axle back there
in the first moto?
That first
right?
moto?
Yeah, the first moto, and then I think he might have crashed in the second moto.
Okay, I wondered what happened. There was a lot of possible crashing and things going on in the second moto. I kind of missed because it was on the other side of the track. Like Noah had something happen with him. Also, Zach Decker had something. Like I seen bumpers that were all mangled and dirt on their backs, and so I wasn't really sure what happened and where it was. I just seen they were still circulating. Even Ulrich was, that one, if he crashed, he was still circulating. Like we had all the guys. And Mason was riding great. Mason was putting on a charge. And actually, Max was too. Max, he was stuck in traffic. Joey was up there. Joey got a great start. Joey was holding really strong for a while. He kept catching a rut. Whoops. Did you do that or I did? I kept catching a rut down there at the bottom, and it was tweaking the bars out of his arms, and I think that started taking a toll on him, that he lost a little bit of energy and started fading a little bit. But I didn't see what happened with Zach and Noah come together or wreck or what that was.
Same, it had to have been on this side of the racetrack, because same thing. I saw Zach, and even something might have happened before the finish line at one point. But I saw Zach's bumper was very much not straight anymore, and I saw on Noah's back was all covered in dirt. That was where when he was all of a sudden way back in the pack, I'm like, okay, what happened? Was it machine him? And when I saw the dirt on his back, I'm like, okay, he must have taken a dirt sample. But I have the overall results in front of me, and the one guy that we need to touch on is Mason, because Mason was really good first moto, and he kind of got whatever he's had going on probably out of his system, because he had a really strong day today, especially that second moto. Finishes third, ends up fourth overall, goes 5-3 for fourth overall. Mason had a really killer day. He was in podium contention for much of the second moto. He was in third place, podium position, until Max made enough passes to get up to the fourth place spot, coming from pretty far back.
And that's pretty impressive, because to everybody that's at home, because of the forecast, it was supposed to rain and be a torrential downpour. We didn't get any of it, and today was a barn burner. It was hot like it was a few years back when those temperatures climbed. When that sun came out, you were out there baking for a while. You got some rosy cheeks going there. So yeah, there was some sunshine out there, and those guys were baking for sure. So that was not an easy moto, because you know how that goes too. The first race of the year that we get some heat, you see some guys drop off. We're not used to it, and today was one of those days. So for those guys to hold strong, that was really impressive. So Mason, if he was sick and battling some things, which we know he was, that was very impressive for him to hold strong and keep charging throughout.
So fourth overall for him. Wesley Wolf, another guy that was really impressive, and he's strong to the finish. But late in that second moto, him and Joey, did you see that? Joey was kind of making a push, and Wesley was able to weather the storm. So both of those guys were going hard late in that second moto there. Wesley ends up fifth overall, and Joey goes 6-6 for sixth.
I seen them touch wheels and share the inside of those little hump berms more than 3 times, we'll say, just so you know.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm not surprised with those guys.
It wasn't wide enough for them. I don't know how they kept going, but they did it and kept doing it. I was laughing. I'm like, oh, this is going to get good.
That's awesome. That's killer racing. That's what happens inside the top 5, right around the top 5 in the pro class, man. There's no inches to give.
Neither one back down. That's why they didn't wreck, I think. They powered through it every time, because I was like, if that was me, I'd be on my head and somebody would have to get the bike off me, and they just kept wheeling on through like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, that's awesome to see. So we see Zach come in 4.9 for 7th overall. That second moto, obviously, he had multiple things going on, because I actually think he might have had 2 different situations happen, because he was already on the comeback trail before the get off, before the bumper got totally sideways and mangled. He was already on the comeback trail before that.
Somebody had said he went off, blew a turn over here somewhere, and also over there.
I thought before the finish line.
I know there was 2 things they said that he blew through, and then a crash. So yeah, he had multiple things happen.
He was hauling in between there, though.
In the middle of all that, he was on the gas.
Yeah, for sure. Heath Hanna, 8th overall. So by far, I would say, especially, we had 13 guys today, super competitive throughout the class. I would say Heath Hanna going 8th overall, 11.7 in the second moto. I mean, that's kind of a breakout ride for him. I would say certainly the best ride of his pro career so far.
I was thinking the same thing when he was going over past the mechanics area where I was standing, that this might be his best ride that we've seen out of him, and he was very strong, controlled. The bike looked great. And he's a big, powerful guy. He was, I think, hurting the sand out there, and not the sand hurting him. So he had a showcase ride.
So had you picked him for your ATV fantasy pick?
I don't want to talk about it, Cody.
That's funny. So Wani comes in 9th overall, 10.8 for 9th overall. Noah Arnold ends up 8.10. We saw what he had go on in that second moto. Took a dirt sample there. John Glada, 9th overall, or 9th in the first moto, 13th in the second moto. He pulled off very early. I'm assuming his body English made it look like he maybe had a get off. I know he had a bike problem at the end of qualifying. But John Glada, I mean, sorry, John. Thankfully, I didn't pick you for my fantasy team. I almost always do when you're here. But he was hauling the mail in the first moto. And with the rough conditions, I thought, GNCC guy, this would be perfect. Didn't go well in the second moto necessarily because of whatever happened. But John Glada, the box score doesn't show how good he was today, because he was killing it in the first moto.
Yeah, he rode really well. I seen him come through that same area over there. I was watching that side of the track, and he looked very smooth. And I thought, man, if this guy's used to pounding through stuff like this for 2 hours, come about the halfway point, he might turn something on. It's really going to surprise a lot of people.
I watched this guy ride, and it never stops blowing my mind how good he is on a motocross track for a GNCC guy. I know how talented all of those guys are, but I watch him, and I'm like, maybe it's time that we just go full-time motocross racing.
I've been impressed since the first time he showed up, because he was jumping all the big jumps. And if I'm not mistaken, like the first time or two when he showed up, he had the narrow wheelbase and everything. And I thought, man, this guy's an animal. Sign him up. Somebody help him out a little bit, So I always enjoy having him here and getting to watch him, because, all the contrasting styles that these pros out there offer. And, we always talk about the ones that really stand out, like your Wesley Wolfs, and really hanging out and throwing it out there. All these guys have something to learn from when you watch them. And his line choice is something I always watch, because it's really impressive. Like, he goes fast, so I always try to watch him so I can learn something from it.
Absolutely. It's I always perk up when I see him at the races with us. Adam Ulrich, not a good day for him, and it's a shame, because he was really, really, really good in qualifying. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to have been privy to that info because of fantasy team selections. But he was like 6th or 7th in qualifying, and like 3 seconds off of the top time. I mean, he was like right there. I was crazy impressed. So it's a bummer that that's the way that his day played out. But Adam Ulrich was really impressive today too. Again, box score doesn't show it with 12th overall, but the guy is really turning the corner with his speed, at least in my mind.
Is that Doug leaving?
That's Digger up there for sure in the sky behind us. You knew he was going to do this.
I know. That's why I wanted to point it out. Like, we have to give props, because here he comes. He's about to buzz the tower, guys.
You knew he had to do it as Digger flies over us here at Sunset Ridge. Marshall Smith ended up rounding out the field here today with 13th overall. We should probably touch on Doug for a sec, Brian. So do you have a favorite Doug story, favorite memory? I mean, you're a Suzuki guy through and through, so you probably got a lot of connection to Digger.
To be honest, yeah, I can tell you some things that for me is surprising and, kind of might blow some people's minds. So back in the day, obviously, when we first started, Michelle and I, we didn't know a lot of people. So we literally were out on the track all the time, watching lines, watching what people were doing, especially the pros. And I think that somehow Dustin Wimmer, we became friends, and like when I seen something, I would go tell Dustin, and Doug would always be sitting there. So Doug started overhearing it. So Doug would send Cindy. Doug started talking to me. Obviously, we became friends. I loved the Suzuki team. Everybody that was on it, we had Suzuki, so it came together. But he started sending Cindy over and telling Cindy, like, find out what Brian's seen or if there was something. Because, like, I don't know if anybody knows this. This could also be a Joe Bird story. But do you remember at Pleasure Valley the one year when Joe Bird popped off, like, some crazy fast lap time?
Of course I do.
Well, I seen what he did.
He caught a corner.
He cut the entire uphill from the backwoods. He was on the water truck road.
Yep.
Because I called him out on it, and he had some choice words on me. He started laughing. We were friends too. So he's like, "You're the only one that's seen that, you little asshole." and so I was cracking up. But I gave Doug a lot of times different things that I would see like Creamer do or Joe do that would not cut the track, but jump in certain areas or stretch it to make it to their benefit. So yeah, I was always kind of fond of Doug because we had that he would ask me like, "Hey, what'd you see that was kind of sketchy, or what were the guys doing?" So
yeah, well, and we just talked about that last week. That Doug, I credit Doug for the I'm going to work in this line, and it's going to come to me later in the race. And I've never heard anybody else say that before.
He had said that to us too, because it's hard for us because we don't have as many laps in the amateurs. But he had said that a few different times, talking to us, like start working in a line, because by maybe lap 3 or 4, there's enough there that you can hold it enough to make a pass. And we implemented that and always used that because it came in handy a lot of times.
So we had to talk about Digger. Can we talk about WMX for a sec? Because WMX very different today than we've seen so far.
It was, wow, Emma. Emma is probably the big buzz for the weekend. Emma was amazing. Came here, did what we expected her to do. The rest of the girls, it was a brutal track. I want to say that. It was an absolutely brutal track for them. I know we all had to ride the same thing, but that track, with their extra lap and stuff, I feel for them. But they pounded it out. There was some impressive things I seen, like Emma, Shelby, and I believe it was Gracie was jumping the Pistoli, exactly right. And that blew my mind because I was like, okay, Gracie's the new girl and hasn't been outside to jump any big jumps, and there she is. She's over there teeing off, and made some good passes and was dicing it up. So yeah, there was Olivia rode great. I'm thinking that she's starting to heal up her hips and that from that crash at Decker. So there was some jostling within the class. There was some jostling for sure.
Listeners who aren't here are wondering where Lily Plaza was, and I'm assuming it's an injury thing.
We heard her bring it up at Muddy Creek about some nerve possibility damage. I believe she was supposed to go get an MRI. I didn't hear about anything from that, any results or anything, but I can only imagine that possibly could be it. But even so, it's really disappointing from my standpoint because I know that they really wanted, the whole Plaza family wanted, Lily to be able to race Kinsey and Emma, and this was an opportunity. And, I'm guessing it's severe enough that she didn't feel comfortable going out there, but I felt like, man, I'd at least try to go out for, a lap or two and try and see what kind of pace you would need to run with somebody at that level like Emma and the Kenzies that we've had. So, I was a little disappointed, but, safety comes first, so that's their call. They got to see her ride, so that's kind of where that was. So unfortunately, she didn't get the race.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to put you on the spot by any means. More than anything, as a fan of ATV motocross, I was just bummed that we didn't see that potential battle. But can't say enough about Emma in the way that she rode, and I know she's in mid-season form back home. They're in the middle of their season there. But can we talk about too? And the WMX class was awesome, but she was in the top 3 in both Pro Sport motos today, and ended up having some kind of problem in the second moto, but she was like in podium position in Pro Sport today, Brian.
So I was really upset because I watched that first moto and I seen her up there and was like, wow, this is super impressive. This is
third.
Great. Yeah. She was rolling. And then the second moto, same thing. I had to jet to go do something, so I think I walked away with a few laps left, but I think she was in second at that time when I walked away, and so I didn't see what happened or no, but I thought she was going to basically take that one home.
It looked like it, and then something happened over here, and she was rolling around on the side of the racetrack, so I don't know if it was a bike thing or whatever it was, but leave no mistake that, she was like top 3 speed today in Pro Sport, so that was unreal. So needed to talk about that. But Brian, we saw some. Well, you can take it from
I was just going to throw in there real quick. Your boy slipped in, Buff.
Did he finish third? I didn't even look.
I Pro Sport, right?
Pro Sport. Buff finished on the podium.
There's your guy. I wanted to bring that up.
And this is very different than Muddy Creek. He wasn't even on my radar this weekend.
I seen him over in staging when I walked by, and I stopped and did a double take, and I was like, Cody's guy.
Yeah, that's my guy. I'm a TT guy, so I'm a big TT guy. Landon Korn gets the overall. Jeremiah Newton finishes 2-3, and Carter Buff goes 6-2 for third overall in Pro Sport. And we should finish out the WMX podium as well. Emma Ray gets the win there, 1-1 in dominant fashion. Olivia Joyner, like you said, goes 2-2.
Yep.
Lane Fire goes.
And just so you know, I told Lane, don't leave. I got to get with you and have that talk. So she's supposed to stick around. So hopefully after this, I'll be able to go have that talk. So next time that we sit down, we'll be able to have a little background from her and anything that she wants the fans and racing community to know.
Awesome. Well, Brian, can't thank you enough for hanging out with me and talking a little racing here. I don't think that we have anything else that we gotta cover. Killer day of racing, like I said. So cool to have Digger hang out with us. Killer day of racing. We saw some awesome battles. To see Brandon win a moto, man. Like, I'm standing up there by the podium crying. I'm so happy for him. Just a day, legitimately a day I won't forget.
Yeah, as it was happening, I felt like this is historic. This is actually happening. That Brandon's out there putting it all together right in front of us on a brutal track that, the stars aligned for him to do that. Maybe it was a little narrow in spots. Maybe, the way it got rough in certain areas and developed, it just lended itself to him and the ride he put in. But you can't take that away from him. That was heads up, legitimately, no excuses. Brandon over, first place, Joel second.
He made it happen. Like you said, historic day. Yeah,
and it resonated. Like you said, I think everybody was quiet at the end of that because they're like,
shock.
That just happened. Shock. And then immediately it was like, oh, what are we going to see for Moto 2? So great day for that. And I'm here for it, man. I love this racing. So to get to see it firsthand, there's nothing better.
Yeah. It made it very fun to know we were ending the day like this. I'm like, man, at least we got something cool to talk about, So again, I can't thank you enough for all your time, for all of these shows, sitting here hanging out with me now. And Brandon shows up, we'll talk to him. If he doesn't, that's okay too. But what an awesome day here at Sunset Ridge, and thanks for your involvement with all things that we do here at Digging Deep, Brian. I appreciate appreciate it a ton.
Not a problem, man. I appreciate it. And, I'm here to support the community and everything that I do. And, if it's okay, I'd like to throw some props out. We had a whole shot award that went to 450B. That'll be first moto was today, and second race tomorrow. First moto, same thing. Sponsored by the Powers family. It was Wide Awake CrossFit. So, I appreciate them. I appreciate everybody that supports and helps me keep Michelle Jenkins 5 whole shot award alive and going. And we're just trying to grow and give back. So I appreciate everybody, just like I appreciate everybody that supports you and keeps this going. This is detrimental to getting ATV racing out there and growing. So we need to do more of that. So thank you, and I appreciate it. And things like this are just going to help.
Yeah, I take a lot of pride in the fact that we get to shout out all the stuff, the Wheelz Up stuff and your stuff with Michelle. I take a lot of pride in that. And again, you've been an awesome asset for me to be able to just have somebody that enjoys it as much as I do, talk about the racing. I love that. So again, Brian, thanks so much for being here. If this is going to be our end of the show, I can't thank again for the people that came and hang out. Thanks so much to Doug. Thanks so much to my brother making the 8-hour round trip down here to help navigate this whole thing, because none of this would exist without him. Cool to have Dallas at the racetrack in general, just because he is like the motor that makes the Digging Deep thing go. So cool for people to see him and all the things that he does. I think we'll call it a wrap with that for Digger Doug Gust, for Brian Jenkins, Brooke, Dallas, my mom, dad, the whole family. I'm Cody Jansen. Thanks so much for being here with us here. Live show, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast here at Sunset Ridge. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
For over 150 years, Valvoline has been dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. As a proud member of Team Valvoline for nearly a decade, I have witnessed their unwavering commitment to pushing the boundaries of performance. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, solidifying their position as a powerhouse within the industry. Being a part of this historically great team has been an incredible privilege. When it comes to my equipment, whether it's my daily commuting vehicles, race quads, or anything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline. Their range of products and lubricants consistently deliver increased horsepower, durability, and engine life. I'm excited to announce Valvoline's breakthrough in performance, Valvoline Ultimate Power Sports. With up to 8 times stronger rust protection and 50% better wear protection, this cutting-edge formula ensures your ATV's engine runs smoother and longer for the ultimate ride. Tackle rugged terrains with confidence, knowing your ATV's engine is equipped with the best protection available. Ready to experience the next level of performance? Head over to shop.valvolineglobal.com and use code DIGGINGDEEP10 at checkout to unlock an exclusive 10% off on your purchase. Don't miss out on this limited time offer to enhance your ATV's performance with Valvoline's Ultimate Power Sports engine oil.
Hey everyone, this is Larry Mills, president of DP Brakes North America and proud partner of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. We at DP Brakes are a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology, dominating the ATV world for decades by supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. This year's lineup includes Jeff Rastrelli, Mark Baldwin and Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, and many more, including Mr. Digging Deep himself, Cody Jansen, plus all the top 17 GNCC pros such as 7-time champion Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Hunter Hart, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, and previous champion Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer. Products ultimately help place them on top of the podium week after week. DP brakes are available through www.dp-brakes.com, or you can purchase them through your local Parts Unlimited stocking dealer, or you can even message us, myself, Larry Mills, or DP Brakes on Instagram or Facebook. And if you have any questions about product or sponsorship support, please ask us. We are waiting for you. Join the best ATV riders in the world equipped with DP brakes, and have a great year, everyone.
Headlined by the their 4130 chromoly, Launderville Steel and Concrete Supply is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products. This racing family-owned full metal service center and concrete product supplier comes with over 30 years of experience serving the entire United States from their central Midwest location. As the number one choice for nationwide shipments and with available next-day delivery in select areas, LSE has you covered near or far. 4130 is not just the chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for an array of motorsports applications, but it is also the name of the newest addition to the Pro Paddock with riders Jaden JJ Launderville and Max Lindquist, introducing the new 4130 Motorsports team. Launderville Steel offers a large selection of material for any project, including their concrete division that can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. For a quote or more info, visit laundervillesteel.com today or give them a call at 715-675-6193. That's 715-675-6193. With a desire to keep you in the race, Ultimate Poly Products offers the Ultimate Protection Collection of case savers, chain sliders, intake manifolds, and more. Founded on quality in 1998, this family-owned and operated business produces products created by racers for racers. These industry-leading products are proudly made and manufactured in the USA, with their case savers being made of the highest quality American-made polyurethane on the market and designed to completely conform to your engine case to help prevent case damage from a thrown chain, because no one wants to be a spectator on race day. Join top pro riders like Bryson Neal, Walker Fowler, John Glotta Jr., Adam McGill, Cole Richardson, and more by using UPP Racing products. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP15 at uppracing.com to save on your next order. Ultimate Poly Products, made to last longer so you can ride more. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. All right, guys, we're jumping back on here, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast here at Sunset Ridge. And, you know, covering these races, like so many of the races are similar-ish. But today we saw history made. Brandon Hoag sitting here with me. Brandon Hoag wins the first career moto win in the professional and the pro class for him. Brandon, tell me what that feels like, man. And we just got done talking with Brian, talking about some of the racing today. And it's funny because it was so quiet after that moto win for you. And you even said, like, you guys don't got to be so quiet. And I think everybody was in shock, pal. Like, we've seen Joel win so many of these races, and you sealed the deal in that first moto. So tell me what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, it felt as, I mean, I was pretty quiet because I didn't know what to really feel. You know, I obviously have wanted to beat him forever, and I ripped the start, and I knew that was maybe my chance with the track, but you know, I was getting tired of seeing all the comments too about people saying he's an alien, dude's unbeatable, dude's just, you know, everybody's beatable to me, in my opinion. It's motocross, which I know, you know, like, it's racing. So it is kind of good feeling to do that. Now, of course, it's not an overall win, but it really don't matter to me. It don't matter to me, man. It felt the same. It felt like that for me. So, and there was a lot of respect between Joel and I there. I went to the trailer right after. We just stared at each other, shook his hand. I'm like, man, you know, there was just a high level of respect there. So it just was such a, dude, I wish everyone could feel that feeling.
Well, and that's why we're standing up there again, and there's this whole crowd of people, and everybody's so quiet. And I'm like, somebody's got to say something to Brandon, so he's like taking this in happiness-wise rather than just because you think, you know, I know you've thought a million times about what it'd be like to win a moto, but you don't take your mind to what it's like after the race. What are you supposed to do or feel? So I understand. And then I actually came back and I said to everybody down here, I'm like, I feel for Brandon because you have that huge emotional high. Now you got to go try to do it again. You know, so I mean, that had to be a hurdle in itself. You had to be spent just from that.
Yeah, it was a new hurdle. I was like bawling my eyes out in my RV by myself, but I'm like, snap out of it. I got to go out here in 30 minutes, dude. So it was a new hurdle to do. But I had known, though, like going into that race, that I was happy regardless of the finish of that one. So, but yeah, you're exactly right. It was kind of tricky.
So I know I want to get you out of here and you know, get you on the road, but can we talk about just for a second what it was like during the race? Like to know, I mean, we've talked up and down about, you idolizing Joel when you were a younger kid. And I will never forget, the Joel Hetrick replica graphics, all the things. So then to have that be the guy that's breathing down your neck, the guy that's won 81 of these races, whatever, to have that be the guy you got to go through. And it's only right that you had to overcome him. I'm so glad that it wasn't a fluky thing. It was a straight up wire-to-wire victory for you. It's something that none of us will ever forget. That being said, what was it like to know, the laps go by and he puts a big charge in at, lap 3, and then there's another one at lap 6 or 7, and then there was another one late. What is that like to know that he's the one behind you?
Dude, that moto for me was like flow state. You know how people talk about that. I was so locked in that for the first time in my life, I was listening to where he was on the track, and I was able to take his line, basically. Like, I changed a couple lines here that saved me that race, to be honest, because he was better than me in spots, and I would listen, and I'm like, okay, he definitely caught me. Next lap, I took it, and I'm like, yep, that might seal the deal. That's kind of how I thought that moto through. And then I also knew how hard I was riding, and I know he's fit and he's always going to be there, but I knew, it's all mental at that point. It's like I trained too hard to mentally crumble there, dude, it's such a weird feeling, but I once we got through halfway, I'm like, he's going to have to, I'll die for this moto now. Once we got through the halfway, like you said, I was like, yeah, it's like a flow state, man. It was unreal.
And it's so fun to hear you think about the flow state part. But late in the race, you had done everything, and that makes so much sense. You had covered every line, moved to the fast lines because Joel late was desperate. And that's, I'm sure, how you because you could hear that I actually posted on lap 9 or 10, you had the biggest lead you had the whole race.
Yeah.
Because he was starting to search. He was starting to do literally everything he could.
Exactly.
And you got him to that point. And what a cool thing that is to think about.
Yeah, exactly. If I wouldn't have did those line changes, I think he could have passed me. So it was good that first time in my career I was smart enough to move, because in the, how it is in the race, you just lock in on, you get locked in on what you're doing. I actually had a bobble over in the mechanics area. We just talked about it real bad. I got super, it was so rough in that turn, and I blow sideways, barely hang on, like one hand on the bar, and I turn around and look at Joel, and he's looking at me, and it was one of them things where I'm like, shoot, I don't want to show him I'm struggling, but I know he's going to charge now because he sees me blood in the water. Of course, yeah. But I just dialed in the next couple of lines and, took a breath, but it was just such a fun moto.
A day you'll never forget, a day I'll never forget. I was just telling Brian, I'm standing up there at the podium, I'm crying, I don't even know. It just was so cool to see that, knowing how much you've put into this for so long. The last thing I want to ask you about or give you an opportunity to talk about is the crew that you're riding for, because it's such a cool thing. We obviously had high hopes for you getting with Rastrelli Racing and PRP being a part of it. I think it just seems like such a great combo. And we were talking earlier today. It sounds like everything is going so well. And I had even said to your girlfriend, I had said to Ava that I said today's going to be a good day. Right at the end of the second qualifier, and then look what happened.
Yeah, she told me that actually. She said you had mentioned that, which I was actually looking for. I thought I was riding really good the second qualifier, and I'm like, did I look fast at least? Because I knew I ran a 139 with Joel, and I've never done that before too. So I'm trying to think do people think I'm there? And she told me you said that, and I'm like, okay, I know riding, so that meant a lot to me, that you were like, Brandon might have something today for him,
Yeah, so I just want to give you an opportunity, and again, I felt it, but give you an opportunity to talk about your team.
Thank you. Yeah, the team is unreal. Most fun I've had racing. They're just super low stress. They'll do anything I ask. Like yesterday, I had them working pretty tough, pretty hard on the bike, and they don't even ask a second question. They just, all right, let's do it. And that's super cool to feel. They don't second guess what I do. Sometimes I might make a change where in the past I might have gotten a question mark, but these guys are like, yeah, let's do it. It'll be better. They kind of trust that I'm making a decision. So I think that as a team goes such a long way. And then Jeffrey, of course, like calling me after the moto, bawling his eyes out. Like he really genuinely is that type of person.
Hey, he called it at the beginning of the year. He said, if anybody's going to beat Joel, it's going to be Brandon on this bike.
Yep. I told him that because we mentioned that. He said, how vividly he said, dude, I would help people, but like the reason I really, really want to help you is you're the only person I think that can do it. And I'm like, then that meant a lot, I know people believe, but it just feels good when you have people that genuinely, you can just tell it's in them, Yeah. It's like you guys, like I know years go by and, I'm in Florida, you're in Wisconsin, but I know that like we have the relationship of you believe in me from the beginning. I know you always have. And, dude, I don't take that stuff for granted. It means even when I'm quiet, I always remember that stuff.
I just find so much pride in seeing you do what you're doing now, man. I just think it's so cool let
me touch on though. I think you were one of the biggest influence. Like seriously, I mean, you were drug free, alcohol free. The guy I wanted to be, just so work ethic was unreal. You were waking up, going to the gym with me at the YMCA. Ain't nobody ever doing that with me. Like, but you were the one that was like, Brandon, let's go, Yeah. And then that's cool. At a young age, that does a lot to somebody. I was 15 or something, and I picked up like, I want to be like that guy. So just to say, give yourself a pat, like as far as, dude, I idolize you my whole,
Well, that means a lot to
me. And I idolize you big time, really. So
that means a lot to me. Well, I look up to you now, man. You're the way that you live your life, the way that you're all in on your stuff, the way that you're so dedicated to this thing. And that's what I was going to touch on, is the fact that that's why, like, even if we didn't have that connection from when we were younger, you love it so much that, like, that's what draws me so much to you. Even if you were just one of the guys to me, the fact that you love it as much as I love it, and you wear it on your sleeve, man, like I just adore that. So thanks for all the nice comments, man. But of course, I couldn't do this. I couldn't have all this stuff here in Dallas and all the things and not talk to you about a day that, again, I'll never forget.
Well, so cool. I appreciate you wanting to chat, and yeah, dude,
so stoked.
Such a epic. I told Ava, I feel like this could be a movie, like we could have a documentary.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's awesome.
Awesome. Well, congrats again. First career moto win here at Sunset Ridge. You'll never forget Sunset Ridge 2026. And it's baby steps, man, right? Like, and I even thought to myself, I'm like, if he would have passed you late in the moto, it would have been disheartening, but it still would have been a step in the right direction for you.
For sure.
You had never led until that late in a moto before.
For sure.
And then you seal the deal, you win the moto. So like you said, I'm so glad that your outlook was whatever happens, in that second moto. I'm glad that, it wasn't going to be the end all be all, but you got that moto win. And this is just a really big step to the next thing that would be an overall win.
Yeah. I was going back to Florida to take a bit of time off. I've been living in the camper, grinding. So my quad is bent in half, blown engines, you name it. Yeah. So I was going to go back to Florida and, relax for a couple of weeks. But now it's like, I kind of want to ride on Tuesday. So we'll see.
You gotta keep the home life happy too, though.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, congrats again. All love from us. Thanks so much for giving Digging Deep a little bit of your time. And this is something that we wanted to document. So congrats again, pal.
Appreciate it, man.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Gust, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quadlers are freaking gnarly.